Hello and welcome to my review of the Sisters of Battle, or the Adepta Sororitas Codex. You can pre-order it on Games Workshop's web store now for £25. This one looks a little bit different than the front cover of the standard edition, mainly because this was only available in the Sisters of Battle Army set that came out at the end of November. The collector's edition, you can get that for £50, so it's double the price, but that is sold out online. But nothing's changed between all of these three editions, this one, the collector's, and the standard one. But a lot has changed since we got the Beta Codex in the chapter approved 2018 edition. If you've got this book and you've got the Beta Codex, you really owe it to yourself to get the full codex, which has technically come out in 2020, and this chapter approved came out the end of 2018. There's a couple of units that have been taken out of the Beta Codex, and there's a fair few new units, such as some of the special characters, and different rule tweaks like the way miracle dice work or how the Exorcist works, for instance, and a huge change in the way Penitent engines work, and the subsequent new units, the Mortifiers and the Anchorites. Also, there's no Battle Sanctum at all in the Beta Codex. So grab yourself a nice hot drink or cold drink, wherever you are in the world, and join me as I go through this book and give you a full review. The first look came out a couple of months ago, and I wanted to do this codex review for quite a while, but I also wanted to finish all of the individual reviews of most of the units in this book. There's still quite a few units that I haven't reviewed because they haven't been released yet. This weekend I will be very busy working on the unboxings and first looks at the first week of releases for Sisters of Battle, which includes the Battle Sisters squad, the Retributus squad, the new dice, and the Triumph of St. Catherine. Next weekend we're spoilt because we're going to have Junith, the Exorcist, the Penitent engines, and the arco-flagellants, as well as some Dark Angels Primaris guy. Anyway, Games Workshop have been calling Junith Judith in a few of their articles. I'm not sure what to take about that. I don't know whether that's an in-house joke or whether they've changed the lore of the canon, I don't know, but either way, in the codex it's Junith. It'd be interesting to see what it's in the codexes that release this weekend. I think it'll be Junith though, not Judith. Before I start the review, I just want to say, like everything on the channel, I buy all of these products myself. There are no backhand favours. Games Workshop doesn't send me anything for free or in exchange for a review or send me anything early. There are some YouTubers that do get sent things early and for free, but me purchasing these off my own back allows me much more freedom to say whatever I like about them. So we're going to go through this book kind of page by page. There's a few codexes that I didn't get around to reviewing so far, such as the Slaves to Darkness book for Age of Sigmar, and even the Genestealer Cult book and the Orc Codex. I didn't really get around to doing reviews. I'll try and get those reviews out at some point, but let's have a look. I really like Sisters of Battle. I was very tempted, 20 years ago or so, when I was a child, to want to collect them. But I was collecting Orcs, Eldar and Space Marines at the time, and I thought 3 armies was far too much at the time. So I didn't really invest in Adepta Sororitas, the metal models, but a couple of my friends did, and they really enjoyed them. For me, they just seemed too much like Space Marines. And now, Space Marines are less like Space Marines than they ever have been before, with, big robots and walkers, and just their look and feel has moved so far away from 40k Grim Dark than it ever has. Whereas Adepta Sororitas, or Sisters of Battle, is a return to form for Games Workshop. This is what I've always remembered Games Workshop for, the 41st millennium, this horrific place where the Imperium is beset on all sides from the alien and their heretic. So it's a return to form, in my opinion. It's a return to form for Grimdark. This codex is 112 pages. It's produced in Nottingham, but I think it is manufactured in China. like most of their books are. If you look at any of your codexes, you know, I've just got a Slaves to Darkness one here, one of my favourite recent ones, designed in the UK, printed by Artron in China, and that's the same for their scenery as well. All that's made in China as well. But their models and their paints, I think the paints still are made in the UK. So it starts off with an introduction. I feel like the army is lacking in both anti-air and air power, as well as air transport. I also feel like it's a little bit lacking in anti-tank weaponry. I'd like to see some kind of Sisters of Battle custom-made Imperial Knight. That would be pretty cool, with a sister controlling it. Anyway, nice little introduction there about the Warriors of Faith, the Keepers of Faith, the Army of the Ecclesiarchy, and the Sisterhood at War. A lovely bit of artwork there, absolutely incredible. You've got the Seraphim Superior, you've got Battle Sisters fighting the Tau. You've got a Sister Repentia with nothing more than a t-shirt save. Absolutely mowing down these Tau. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know how the Tau allowed these sisters to get so close. A complete error in judgment there for the Tau. Warriors of the Faith. So it gives you a bit of a backstory and just adds some meat on the bones if you weren't aware of who they are, what they do. A little bit of battles. Talks a little bit about the Horus Heresy, of course, and their role there. It goes on to talk about the Adeptus Ministorum and the way they work, and then the Age of Apostasy, in terms of the formation of the Adeptus Sororitas, being the daughters of the Emperor, and the High Lord falls. Vandir, he's one of the key guys in all this. The Reformation, and then the Army of the Ecclesiarchy. They're both an obdurate military force and a beacon of faith. Unflinching might, they crush all who oppose the will of the ecclesiarch or the sanctity of the emperor's domain. You've got the different orders. You've got the orders militant. They're known as the Sisters of Battle. But the Warriors of Faith and Crusades and the Ordo Hereticus. This is the hierarchy of the Adeptus Sororitas. You know, you've got the Emperor right at the top, of course. And then you've got the Ecclesiarch, and you've got the Orders Militant, which includes Martyred Lady, Valorous Heart, Bloody Rose. And then you've got the Orders of Hospitaller, the Famulus, and the Dialogus. And then you've got minor orders, and then you've got the Convent Priors, which is the Orders Militant. So there's a bit of a command structure there. You've got the war gear of the Sisterhood. You've got this Sabbat pattern Sororitas helm. It's the standard pattern worn by the majority of Battle Sisters since the mid-38th millennium. They can operate in full vacuum, pretty good. And you've also got a variant, the fleur-de-lis symbol on the front. And you normally get the fleur-de-lis on the Celestine squads. It also breaks down different parts of them. This is basically a model that you can buy called Amalia Novena, if you're interested. I think she's £20, plastic, lovely base with a load of candles and things. They've really done her justice, so just type that into Games Workshop website and I think you can still buy her. But yeah, you've got all of these breakdowns of what a Sister of Battle war gear comprises of. Then it talks about the different orders. So you've got the Order of Our Martyred Lady. You've got the Order of the Valorous Heart. Order of the Bloody Rose. I want to say Bloody Nose, but there we go. Lovely red armour. Order of the Ebon Chalice. And then Order of the Argent Shroud. I think they've got like white armour. And then Order of the Sacred Rose. Orders Minoris, which include the Order of the Glowing Chalice, Order of the Thorn, Order of the Iron Veil, Order of the Ashen Shrine, Order of the Wounded Heart and Order of the Golden Light. I like the Golden Light one. I haven't yet picked a colour for mine. I might go for all gold or red, because the Bloody Rose looks pretty nice in that red. And you've got the non-militant orders, which is the Orders Dialogus, the Orders Famulus, and the Hospitaller, and other non-militant orders. You've got a lovely ecclesiastical parishes map here where they are. So you've got Bloody Rose there, you've got the Ebon Chalice, you've got the Armated Lady, you've got Valorous Heart, you've got the Sacred Rose, and then right here, just in the fold, just in that little crease there, you've got the Argent Shroud. So that's where they lie up. Wars of Faith, so bit of a timeline, as in every codex. You've got the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, and then, you know, it goes through the different orders and the notable battles that they had. Explains different parts of their timeline. A couple of pages, usually it's a couple of pages. It's a lovely bit of artwork showcasing the new Chaos Sorcerer model there. Absolutely fantastic. I love that model. I think it's great. I bought that one. You've got, these are the Alpha Legion. Got some nice cultists there. You've even got a Primaris in the foreground here, with an auto bolt rifle, I think, and a sister, a Canoness even, with a Condemner bolt gun. And you've got a big old Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought there. So yeah, looks fantastic. A lovely bit of artwork. And then it goes into the unit profiles, and then it goes into describing more about the different units that you'll see in their data sheet. So it talks to you about the Canonesses and this Rosarius, which is this little field generator that amplifies the spiritual will of the wearer in a shield of energy. So it gives them an invulnerable save. This special character, which we've never really seen before, other than in this codex, and her models in this codex too, called Junith Eruta. I want to say Erusha, but it's not, it's Eruta. And it's not Judith either, which, yeah, Games Workshop have been calling her. Absolutely bonkers model with these heavy flamers underneath her, and she's just floating along the battlefield, driving close so that she can tap heretics on the head with that staff. Pretty good mace that she's equipped with, the Mace of Castigation as well. Then you've got Celestine, the Living Saint, which is this lovely model right here. Still one of my favourite models, and it holds its own. Lovely work of art, that one. If you haven't already heard of the Living Saint. She's equipped with the Ardent Blade, and she wears the armour of St. Catherine, which is amazing, which leads us on to the Triumph of St. Catherine, which at the time that this codex came out, end of November, we never really saw a picture of St. Catherine. We didn't know what the model would look like. Kind of knew it would be a collection of sisters from the different orders. As it's explained like this in the data sheet, it only took the next day, on the Saturday, the open day, for Games Workshop to fully reveal this model in the flesh. And I'm a huge fan. It is coming on Saturday and I can't wait. And I'm in a dilemma, because you know what I'm like. I make the models as quick as possible and then paint them at a much later date. With this one, I might just blue tack those sisters on there, because it's going to be an absolute pain to work around them and to paint every part of that model, which I would really like to do. So we'll see how I move around that issue. The Battle Sisters themselves, the box set is £35. You can make 10 Battle Sisters, or there's enough parts in there to make 5 Dominions and 5 Celestians, which further on in the book. But the Battle Sister squad, it then talks about the Retributor squads, which are the heavy weapon wielding sisters. Angelic Hosts, the Seraphim, which are these jump pack equipped sisters. Look very similar to this, but to the Gemini Superior, but they've got bolt pistols instead of the power sword. However, the Zephyrim, which are the elite kind of versions, they do have power swords and bolt pistols. Then you've got the Repentia, which are the sisters that have fallen from grace, and they're given an opportunity to wash away their sins with the blood of faithless. So you've got the Sisters Repentia, these former sisters that have these huge eviscerator chainswords, massive double-handed chainswords that are really good in game as well. And we'll talk about them in a moment. Then these are the Celestine squads I mentioned earlier, of which you can make out of the Battle Sisters squad. They're basically the finest and noblest warriors of their order, inspirational figures whose refusal to yield is legendary. And they have also got some cherubs as well, which are these little baby type servitor robot things that have got wings, and they just float about the battlefield, helping the sisters out. Then you've got Imagifiers, which are fervent sisters which extol the virtues of fallen sororitas and preach their deeds amidst the din of battle, so that the martyr spirit may inhabit warriors of the order. Lovely looking model. We'll have a look at one of those in a moment. And Hospitalers, they move about the battlefield, as you can see there, healing fellow sisters and bringing them back from the clutches of death. You've got the Dialogi, or Dialogi, or Sister Dialogus, or Sister Dialogus. Again, they drown out filthy war cries of the enemy with shouts of exalting praise, very much like chaplains, very much like the Chaos Space Marine Dark Apostles that shout the prayers. You've got the transport vehicles. Now this is where they're lacking a little bit. They only have two options. You've got the Sororitas Rhino, and then you've got Emulators, which carry less, so you can put Celestines in or whoever, but they do have those big heavy flamers on the front. I personally would have liked to have seen a plastic version of the Repressor. Maybe we'll get a Forge World one. We used to have a Forge World one that just used the ubiquitous Rhino chassis and added a load of Forge World resin goodness. That would be cool. I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. Hopefully Forge World will up their game and use this new Sororitas Rhino to as an excuse to make some more resin upgrades for it. Hopefully it will be better armoured, maybe possibly carry 15, who knows. It's the same Rhino chassis though, but it's got a bit of a larger roof, more armour, massive dozer blade in front. It's only got what looks like a storm bolter on one of the top cupolas, and just a flamer, but I think it more than makes up for that in that I think Sisters could fire out of it, and it looks more heavily armoured. Then you've got Exorcists, which are the main heavy support choice for Sisters other than the Retributor squads. It's a tank that's on a Rhino chassis with this big organ at the back, but it's not really an organ, it's a missile launcher. And yeah, there's this sister just, tinkling the ivories and launching all of these missiles out the back. And that's changed from the beta codex in terms of the two different firing modes, which we'll go through. You've got the Ministorum Priests, of which, again, a bit of a missed opportunity to make some plastic preachers and missionaries. They've still got the old, I say metal, they upgraded them a little bit by putting them in fine cast. But nonetheless, they've still got the old preachers and missionaries models. Hopefully we'll get some new ones. And it's the same for Crusaders and Death Court Assassins. They didn't really get any love in this new edition of Sisters, unless they're going to be released later on in the line. We had a new Death Court Assassin in the form of Pond in one of the, I think, Rogue Trader box sets. I think that was Death Court Assassin. So there's no reason why you couldn't just use her in the army. And again, Crusaders, I think we had a new Crusader model in the Blackstone Fortress Escalation box set. But other than that, no other new plastic miniatures for Crusaders, Death Court Assassins, Preachers or Missionaries, unfortunately, as of yet. Hopefully they will release some at some point. You've got the arco-flagellants, and there's a little nod here to Damien 1427. says the original name has been expunged from Imperial records. He was once an itinerant peddler from the world of Siluria 4, who was caught in a rock slide and suffered near-fatal cranial injuries, and it goes on and on and on. So that's, like I say, one of the most famous ones, well, in this book anyway. Arco-flagellants basically punish the heretical, and they punish them through the physical modification and spiritual cleansing. Limbs are pulled apart, refitted with cybernetic weaponry, fitted with a pacifier helm, which is rooted deep into the spine and cerebellum. And then when the battle is joined, the pacifier helm is deactivated by utterance of a trigger word. And then the flagellant's body is flooded with chemical payload, which activates painful ophthalmic goads that drive them forward in the direction of their prey. So you're kind of refitting confessors and heretics and prisoners, basically, as well. People that just aren't in line with the Emperor, or have committed horrible crimes, or have been mutilated, or whatever. The Ministerium have found a use for them. Similar to the engines of penance, even more so. You've got penitent engines, mortifiers, you've actually got anchorites as well, which briefly is mentioned here. Ends this with saying that they're forced to face their torment in absolute isolation because they're entombed in this sarcophagus. So they're just alone. They don't have, any exposure to the outside world at all. You have had to have committed a terrible crime. Other punishments are deemed too lenient. Some have been priests that have fallen from grace, and others have been sisters who have caused the deaths of their fellows, and then they're just wired into one of these penitent engines. Horrific machines, they really are. Then we have a lovely showcase of most of the new models. They've had a year. I would have preferred them to at least show all of the new models, but they didn't. I don't know why they kept them all back, because they went ahead and showed a load of the new models the day after this codex came out. Maybe there were time constraints and they could only build and paint so many, but then I always fall back on, well, they've had well over a year, probably 2 years, to go through this new release. So I question why they haven't put all of the models in this kind of showcase, but I try not to dwell on it too much. What they do showcase is the Canoness with a power sword and rod of office, which you get in the army box set. The new Canoness, the multi-pose kit, you're essentially getting multi-poses with it being multi-part, with the null rod and condemner bolt gun, but you can change those weapons out, you can change the head, numerous heads, and you get them Sister Amalia Novena, which is just called the Battle Sister with bolt gun. It's odd that they didn't just call her, Amalia Novena, and it would have been nice if she had her own profile as like another character. Either way, you've got a little showcase there, and it goes through some of the units. You've got the Seraphim. Again, unfortunately, these were just the ones in the set, not the multi-part kit. You've got Celestine and the Gemini Superior. Yeah, I've got some new models here though, like the Dialogus and the Imagifier and the Hospitaller, and you've also got Junith there. You've got the new models there against some Eldar or Craft Worlds. These are the models in the army set as well, so no new kind of battle sisters. However, these are the new ones here. There's one with a heavy flamer, one with a flamer, the Superior with a combi flamer. These are the new ones right here as well, with the melter gun, one pointing, and then you've got Canoness Veridon, and it says miniatures used here to represent a Canoness armed with bolt pistol and power sword. So technically I've got 2 Canonesses right now. Then moving on, you've got some variants of the Battle Sister box set called the Celestians, which are the wisest and finest. Then you've got a lovely little picture there of the Emulator, the new transport, and you've got Sisters Repentia, but unfortunately these are the ones in the army set with the Superior. I think these are the sisters in the set, in the army set, except for the melter gun wielding sister. There's a better picture of the Emulator with a lovely stained glass shield. You've got the Penitent engines here, and you've just got the buzzsaw variety. To me, it looks like these are exactly the same Penitent engines, which is frustrating, I think, but they're armed in exactly the same way with the same pose, it looks like. And then you've got the Exorcist here, lovely picture there of that one. And you get different head options for the little organ player. And here you go, here are the models in the army set too, so no new Penitent engines or anything, and here's some really old models. I mean, the Missionary and the Preacher are very old, the Crusader is very old, and so is the Death Court Assassin, which I did a review of them yesterday. This is all of the models that you get in the army set. So when the main release of the Codex comes out tomorrow, this is going to be like a little bit redundant in a way, because it shows models from a kit that you can only get in that kit. But of course, when they're all separate, you'll be able to still make this little battle force. And then this is an exploded kind of view of another example of a very large Sisters of Battle army. Mine is probably going to be about this big once I'm all said and done, I think, with a couple of squads of Battle Sisters and some Celestians and Retributors and so on. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually show everything though. It doesn't show the Triumph of St. Catherine, it doesn't show the Retributors, it doesn't show the Zephyrim, and it doesn't show the Mortifiers or Anchorites. It doesn't even show the new Canoness, you know, the multi-part one. So a bit disappointing in terms of what they're showing. You know, it's very kind of drip fed in my opinion. Then you've got the Army of the Ecclesiarchy. Now this is the meat of the book in my opinion. It talks to you all about the order. You can pick an order obviously, and then you just replace that keyword with that order, such as Order of Martyred Lady. You've got the War Gear lists, abilities, Acts of Faith, gaining miracle dice. This is one of the funnest aspects of the army, whereby you gain 1 miracle dice at the beginning of each battle round, and you gain 1 at the end of a phase if 1 or more of the following conditions are met 1 or more times during that phase. So Vengeance, a unit from your army with the Acts of Faith ability destroys an enemy unit. Sacrifice, a character unit from your army with the Acts of Faith ability is destroyed. Purity, a psychic power is resisted by a unit from your army with Acts of Faith ability. Valour, you roll an unmodified 1 for a morale test taken for a unit with Acts of Faith ability. And it says here, when you gain a miracle dice, roll 1d6. The number you roll is the value of that miracle dice. This value cannot be changed unless a rule states otherwise. Keep your miracle dice to one side. This is your miracle dice pool. And then it explains how to perform an act of faith. So you perform an act of faith using your miracle dice. It says before making a dice roll for a model or unit from your army with the Acts of Faith ability, you can choose to use 1 or more of the dice from your miracle dice pool instead. For each individual dice that is being rolled as part of the dice roll, you can select 1 miracle dice from your miracle dice pool to be substituted in place of that dice. The dice that it is being substituted for is not rolled, and instead the value of the chosen miracle dice is used as if it had been rolled. Once all miracle dice substitutions have been made, remove the chosen miracle dice from your miracle dice pool and roll any remaining unsubstituted dice that are part of the dice roll. You can use miracle dice to perform an act of faith for any one of the following types of dice roll: advance roll, charge roll, deny the witch test, hit roll, wound roll, saving throw, damage roll, and morale test. For example, instead of rolling a d6 to see what value is added to a unit's move characteristic when that unit advances, you could use a dice from your miracle dice pool. If the value of that dice was 5, you could add 5 inches to the move characteristic of all models in that unit for that move phase. A miracle dice is not a modifier or an inherently modified dice. So example, if you use a miracle dice with a value of 1 for a morale test, that is considered to be an unmodified roll of 1. When re-rolling a dice roll, no new miracle dice may be substituted. The number and values of any miracle dice that have already been substituted in the dice roll remain the same for the re-roll. So there you go, you can basically substitute. You've got a dice roll, you roll, and you've got your miracle dice with a load of numbers on, and you can just substitute that before making a dice roll for a model or unit with the Acts of Faith ability, which is fantastic. You just got to remember to keep gaining them. That's the thing. You gain them and you roll for them, and then you've got your pool, and then, you know, oh, you want to make an invulnerable save? Oh, I'm just going to use that miracle dice. That's how they work. And I think that's pretty cool and very fun. Sacred Rites. You can pick a Sacred Rite, or you can just roll, and they're active until the end of the battle. So you've got 1 to 6 there, and I will read them. Hand of the Emperor. When a unit with this Sacred Rite advances, add 1 to the advance roll. When you make a charge roll for a unit with this Sacred Rite, add 1 to the result. Number 2 is Spirit of the Martyr. When a model with this Sacred Rite is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing the model from play. On a 5+, that model can either shoot with one of its ranged weapons as if it were your shooting phase, or make one attack with one of its melee weapons as if it were the fight phase. Aegis of the Emperor. When a Deny the Witch test is taken for a unit with this Sacred Rite, add 3 to the result. Divine Guidance. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model with this Sacred Rite on an unmodified wound roll of 6, the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon is improved by 1 for that attack, e.g. AP 0 becomes AP -1. The Passion. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this Sacred Rite, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. And Light of the Emperor. When a morale test is taken for a unit with this Sacred Rite, you can re-roll the dice. So they're the Sacred Rites that you pick, you know, before the battle. You've got Shield of Faith. Models in this unit have a 6+ invulnerable save. However, there's something extra to this invulnerable save. One model in this unit can attempt to resist 1 psychic power from in your opponent's psychic phase in the same manner as a psyker by taking and Deny the Witch test. If that model is within 24 inches of the enemy model manifesting that psychic power, when taking the Deny the Witch test, roll 1d6 instead of 2d6, and the psychic power is resisted if the roll is greater than the result of the psychic test that manifested the power. Pretty decent, just from being within 24 inches. Zealot. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in this unit, you can re-roll the hit roll if that model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn. So that's very decent. You can re-roll the hit rolls basically for Zealots. So there you go. That's all the you know, the army, the keywords, and the Acts of Faith and the Sacred Rites and things. They're the main factors that you need to keep in your mind when you're using your Sisters of Battle army. Let's look at the data sheets then. So it starts off with an HQ choice, the Canoness. She's a power points cost of a 3 and a points cost of 45. Very decent, I think. Good all-rounder. She's got a movement speed of 6 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 3, toughness 3, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 3+. She's got a bolt pistol, chainsaw, frag grenades, and crack grenades. She's quite cheap. You know, you can give her a power sword instead of that chainsaw. You can give her a Condemner bolt gun, a blessed blade. She's got a high number of attacks, a good save. She's got that in 4+ invulnerable. The downside is just her strength, which can be overcome with a blessed blade that bumps the strength up to 5, and her toughness is only 3. She can be equipped with a brazier of Holy Fire, whereby demon units have to subtract 1 from their leadership characteristic, and then once per battle, when the unit fires Overwatch, she can unleash the brazier's Holy Flames. You select a unit within 12 inches of the model, and you roll a d6, and on a 2+, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the enemy unit is a demon, it suffers d6 mortal wounds. Holy moly. So you have a chance there of knocking out 6 mortal wounds on a demon just because she's carrying a torch. You've got Lead the Righteous. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by the models in friendly order units whilst their unit is within 6 inches of the model. And then you've got Rod of Office. If the model has a Rod of Office, you add 3 inches to the range of the Lead the Righteous ability. And then Null Rod. If the model has a Null Rod, it cannot be targeted or affected by psychic powers. And in addition, whilst any models from your army that have Null Rods are within 18 inches of enemy psychic models, subtract 1 from the psychic test and Deny the Witch test taken from those enemy models. Now, I'm not going to go through every single one of these profiles. I'm going to give you a bit of a summary for each one, because otherwise this review would be about 3 hours long, I'm sure. If you want to check out all of the unit profiles, please do look at all of my reviews, the reviews that I've already made and the reviews that are upcoming. There will be reviews of every unit in this book, except for, I think, the Preachers and the Missionaries, and possibly even the Crusaders, but still, I implore you to search for them. Recently did a review of Celestine, covered all of her rules. I don't know why you'd leave home without her. She is a bit pricey, but what you're getting is an almost invincible character that can dish out a load of attacks. Very survivable, very fast, can move about the battlefield, has the two Gemini superior models to take hits for her, and they're quite potent in combat too. You've got the Triumph of St. Catherine, quite pricey, power points cost of a 9, the most expensive character here. 18 wounds though, you've got different relics, you've got 14 attacks if the Triumph of St. Catherine has between 10 and 18 wounds. You've got a 4+ invulnerable save, and you've got to subtract 1 from the hit roll. You've got relic weapons, Martyr's Sword. You've got all kinds of abilities that make this model worthwhile and just look absolutely stunning. Then you've got Judith, or should I say Junith. A decent price point and a decent speed too, movement of 10 inches. Loads of wounds there for 7, has got these heavy flamers. Unfortunately they're quite short range, but in a way she's got an effective range of 18 inches, and the Mace of Castigation bumps her strength up to 5, but still technically not as good as a Blessed Blade. Blessed Blade has a damage of D3 and an AP -3, so it's quite odd that, you know, the mace isn't as good as like a blessed blade, but still this is a full-on damage 2, but statistically you're going to get 2 or more anyway with a D3. So that's all I want to say about her. She does improve the Shield of Faith ability up to a maximum of 4+, which is insane as well. The Missionary, you'd mainly get the Missionary to bump up your Adeptus Ministorum infantry and Astra Militarum infantry. Quite weak, not many attack, a mediocre weapon skill and ballistic skill. Got a 4+ invulnerable save, give him that. And that's it for the HQ section. Quite a few, but I would have preferred more. I would have preferred to see Amalia Novena as an HQ. I would have preferred to see Canoness Veridon as her own separate model. I just think that they could have added more. Maybe they will add more over the next few years, and I definitely would like to see more troop choices. There's only one, which is a Battle Sisters squad. You can have up to 15 there in a squad, which is a nice chunk of Battle Sisters. But if you want to take advantage of the special weapons and the heavy weapons, having 5 is the way to go. Well, I say having 5 is the way to go, that's how you unlock them. You know, having 5 with a special weapon and a heavy weapon means that the enemy doesn't have to kill that many of them before they start eating away at high points cost models. Having 10 and having 1 heavy weapon or special weapon is probably a better way to go. But I like the fact that their movement speed is 6 inches, their weapon skill is only 4+, but their ballistic skill is 3+, and they've got strength and toughness of 3, 1 attack, leadership 7, and save of 3+. They're quite cheap, power points cost of a 4. Moving on, elite choices, you've got a Preacher here, which is even worse than a Missionary in my opinion, even cheaper, but still has a 4+ invulnerable, just has a last pistol and chainsword. I'm pretty sure that I've got a metal Preacher that I could use as a Preacher. The Gemini Superior here under the elite choices, you can have both of them there if you didn't want to just take Celestine. Again, I don't know why you wouldn't, because they are her life wards and divine guardians, and they really work best with her, and she works best with them. But yeah, if you just want to take one of them to just move around the battlefield, then you can do. You know, they are characters at the end of the day. They could support your Zephyrim squads maybe, but they've only got 2 wounds. The only invulnerable save they've got is that 6+ invulnerable. They're quite squishy, so I don't know whether you'd want to invest some points into them without proper support. That's what I'm trying to say. Repentia Superior. So as you can see, there's a theme here. You've got a lot of elite choices. it is an elite heavy army. The main choices are elites in this army. The Repentia Superior, you can take her separately, but in my review you're best off taking her with Sisters Repentia. You can have 9 in total Sisters Repentia, but you can also have the Repentia Superior. Having 10 of them in a Rhino would be pretty decent. Their movement speed is 6 inches, but they have the invulnerable save, and they can ignore wounds on a 5+, which does add to their survivability, but you really want to keep them in cover or transport them in those Rhinos as much as possible. Then you've got the Celestine squad, which of course are an elite choice, and they're the wisest and finest. They have a better weapon skill than the normal Battle Sisters, and they also have 2 attacks each and a better leadership. They are really, you know, the elite of the Battle Sisters, and that's reflected in that, in terms of them being able to carry 2 special weapons there, or 1 special weapon and 1 heavy weapon, and the fact that they can reroll hit rolls made by models in the unit whilst they're within 6 inches of cannonesses. So they really need to be, you know, close to the cannonesses to, I say, sort of help her out. And if you've got one of the superiors which actually has 3 attacks, have her equipped with a Blessed Blade or Power Sword or something like that, that'd be brilliant. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, you've also got the Zephyrim squad, which I kind of see why they're in there. They are kind of the elite versions of the Seraphim. Again, how they differ to the Seraphim is very similar to how the Celestians differ from the Battle Sister squad. Instead of a better weapon skill though, they've got the same weapon skill and ballistic skill as the Seraphim, but they do have the 2 attacks like the Celestians, and they do have a better leadership. And they're all equipped with bolt pistols and power swords. Unfortunately, you can't give them all plasma pistols, but you can at least give the superior plasma pistols. That would be cool if you could all have them all equipped with plasma pistols and power swords. For me, they'd be an auto include. But that's the Zephyrim squad. Again, one of the reasons why you get them is this angelic visage. The invulnerable save models in this unit receive from Shield of Faith abilities improved by 1 to a maximum of 4+. So again, they're going to get a 3+ normal and a 5+ invulnerable. Pretty awesome, and they can just basically deep strike too. Then you've got some characters in the form of the Dialogus, which allows you to add 1 to leadership characteristic of Adeptus Sororitas units while within 6 inches. Yeah, it sucks that it's 6 inches, not like 12 inches or so. But also the reason why you get it is the Stirring Rhetoric, where you can increase or decrease the value of 1 miracle dice used before you use it. You know, she's going to bump up that miracle dice. Hospitaller is very decent, other than looking like an absolute beauty of a model. She can provide medical attention to friendly Adeptus Ministorum infantry unit within 3 inches. Yeah, it's a short range, but you'd expect that. The model can regain up to D3 lost wounds, or if models from the unit has been destroyed, you can return 1 destroyed model from the unit to the battlefield with 1 wound remaining. But each unit can only be provided medical attention once per turn. So you really got to be going to these units that have models that have multiple wounds to get your points back. But other than looking like a lovely model, they really will help your sisters out. I mean, arco-flagellants have multiple wounds, so it might be worth doing it for them, or just bringing back models that have been lost. That would be worth doing. Then you've got yet more elite choices. This is why I said it's very elite heavy. You've got the Imagifier. The main reason you get her is for the Litany of Deeds, and you've got 3 deeds to choose from: rerolling Deny the Witch tests, negating armor penetration against your models, and adding 1 to strength characteristics. You've got Crusaders, which have a 4+ normal save, a 3+ invulnerable, and they're armed with power swords. What's not to like? The weapon skill's also 3+. You can have 6 of them, which is quite a scary prospect. You've just got to think of a delivery method, probably in a Rhino maybe, or Emulator even. 6 Crusaders. I just wish the models were cooler, or wish there were more plastic models for them. Same for the Death Cult Assassins. We've got the nice arco-flagellants now. We want the Death Cult Assassins and Crusaders with nicer models that are in plastic. Death Cult Assassins are quite nice. Again, you can have 6 of them as well. I've got a few of the models. They've got the 5+ invulnerable. Again, they've got the 3+ weapon skill. They're a bit faster than the Crusaders, but they're not as survivable in terms of... they do have more attacks than the Crusaders, but they're not as survivable because their armor save isn't as decent. But they've still got the same number of wounds. Arco-flagellants, on the other hand, have 2 wounds each. They're a good strength at strength 4, one of the strongest units in the army. Their flails also add +1 to their strength to strength 5, and they can hit with multiple attacks, and they can shrug off wounds on a 5+. They're pretty decent, especially when you've got 10 of them. I'll be getting 10 at some point, and I'll do a full review of those. The Dominion squad, so now we're into the fast attack, of which there are only 2. Would have liked another fast attack from like a flyer or something, like some kind of winged bird, but dressed up with all the ecclesiarchy fleur-de-lis icons and stuff, and you know, and with braziers on it and all kinds of stuff. That would have been, you know, just go wild, designers. That would have been an incredible model if and when they do make one of those. But you've got the Dominion squad, which are, yeah, Battle Sisters, same movement speed, same stat line even, except now you've got 4 of them that can be equipped with special weapons instead of their bolt guns. Pretty awesome. They can also move as if it was their movement phase, so a little bit of scouts in a way, but yeah, it's kind of to fill that gap. The faster of the fast attack choices is of course the Seraphim squad. I always thought they looked really cool with the dual bolt pistols. Obviously they're just bolt pistols, but you do have a choice of having 10 of them in a unit, and you can have 2 of them equipped with hand flamers or inferno pistols, so you can swap their roles out really in terms of going for hordes or going for vehicles or high toughness units. They're both pretty short range. They're only 6 inches, so whatever you're going to go up against, and if you don't kill it straight away, because you're only going to have 4 of these little hand weapons, if you don't kill it straight away, the chances are they're going to get bashed in combat. Your superior should hold her own a little bit though, with 2 attacks with the power sword, but with only 1 wound for all of them, 5 are going to get ganged up on very easily. And then on to heavy support choices, of which you've got 4. You've got the Exorcist, which is this awesome looking organ tank with a big missile rack at the back that's, you know, firing off these missiles out of the organ pipes. The weapon profile has changed since the beta codex. You've now got 2 profiles. It would have been nice if you could just fire it without line of sight, like a Whirlwind, like a Thunderfire cannon. Thunderfire cannon is 60-inch range, and it doesn't need a line of sight, and it can dish out a lot of damage, and it has a save of 2+. This thing has a save of 3+. Yeah, it does have a fair number of wounds, but it needs line of sight, and it's only 48-inch range. But you've got 2 profiles here: heavy 3d6 at strength 5 AP -2 damage 1, or heavy 3d3 at strength 8 AP -3 and damage d6. And I think you know, for people against Space Marines, that would be quite a good option to go for. I would go for an Exorcist anyway, just because it's a beautiful model and it would be so fun to use. Mortarfires, you've got 2 types. You've got the Mortarfire, you can have 6 of them, and one of those can be an Anchorite. What you're getting with Mortarfires is you're getting a faster Penitent engine with a better weapon skill and ballistic skill. This time these Mortarfires have got a weapon skill of 3+ and a ballistic skill of 3+. They've got a decent number of attacks of 4 and a save of 4+. If you upgrade one to an Anchorite though, you're then getting a better save of 3+. They can shrug off wounds on 6s. They can also hit out before they die and inflict mortal wounds on the enemy. Can change their heavy bolters to Assault 3 too. You've got the Retributor squad, which I would have thought is going to be quite popular. You've got 5 Retributors, but you can have an additional 5. 4 of them can be equipped with one weapon from the heavy weapons list. These will be heavy flamers, heavy bolters, or multi-melters. All pretty awesome weapons. I would have liked to have seen an extra weapon that the Sisters have made, but you know, it is what it is. They're the most sort of common weapons in the Imperium, but it would have been nice to see some kind of, I don't know, Condemner heavy bolter or something unique for Sisters. What's interesting is they are getting the Chaos Space Marine Havoc bonus here. In terms of models in this unit do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. It's just called Faithful Advance. You know, we've gone past special armour and boots that Space Marine wear in their power armour for Devastators. We've gone past the same for Chaos Space Marines. We've now got, they can just move and shoot heavy weapons. So that's where we've got. You can have this cute little Armorium Cherub as well, which allows model to immediately shoot with a weapon again, so you get 2 shots. That will come in handy, definitely. Then you've got the vanilla Penitent engines. Are a bit slower than the Mortifiers, and they have a worse weapon skill, and I don't know why they only have a 5+ ballistic skill, but the save is still the same though. They're quite cheap. They've got a decent number of attacks, even more if you're using the Penitent flails. If you want to go against something that high toughness, go for the Buzz Blades, and they are only equipped with the heavy flamers, so you're not going to get any ranged weaponry there, but they're only 1 inch faster than a normal Battle Sister. A Rhino is faster, or has the ability to be faster than the Penitent engines at a whopping 12 inches. It's almost double the speed of these flailing walkers. The Rhino can have the Hunter-Killer missile, of course. The Hunter-Killer missile, I'm sure it used to have a infinite range, but it's got a 48-inch range. Maybe that's changed from many years ago. It's still got Shield of Faith, so it has got an invulnerable 6+ save, and obviously that can be stacked with another unit that can improve it. You can have 10 Adeptus Ministorum infantry models. You can only transport Adeptus Sororitas models if they have the Order, Dialogus or Hospitaller keywords, so you can still put those in there. The Emulator is a bit more expensive. It can only transport 6 models though, but it does have the Immolation Flamers, which are unique flamers for this tank. They're a nice range there of 12 inches, so it's got an effective range there of 24 inches, because these bad boys are Assault 2d6, Strength 5, AP -1 and a damage of 1, and they automatically hit. You can change those Immolation Flamers to heavy bolters or a twin multi-melter. So again, if you're against vehicles and things, you might want to equip it with that. You know, have a load of Dominions, have a Dominion squad of 6 with multi-melters in a multi-melter Immolator, or have them all equipped with flamers in a Immolation Flamer equipped Immolator. And then the final unit in the whole codex is this Battle Sanctum. It's a power points cost of a 3. We've seen the model now, it looks absolutely fantastic. It can't be destroyed, you know, it's got no save or toughness, and I like units with this ability because they get to stay on the battlefield, you know, and get to stay till the end. It is worth taking because they do benefit from cover, but also any Adeptus Ministorum units within 6 inches of the Sanctum gain 1 miracle dice, and you subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic for Chaos models as well. But it's a lovely looking piece of scenery. So that's it. You've then got the Weapons of Faith here. You've got ranged weapons and the melee weapons. You've got a lovely picture there of models in the army set, and the Exorcist and a Immolator and Junith. You've got the Sisterhood at War. So Adeptus Sororitas detachments gain the following abilities. You've got Order Convictions and Strength of Faith, and then you've got the Pious and the Penitent, and here are the Order Convictions, which we'll go through. Okay, so you've got the Order of Convictions, and the way it says here, it says units listed below can be included in an Adeptus Sororitas detachment, even though some of them do not have the Adeptus Sororitas keyword. Furthermore, the units listed below can be included in an Adeptus Sororitas detachment without preventing other units in that detachment from gaining an Order Conviction. Note that the units listed below can never themselves benefit from an Order Conviction. So bear in mind, You have an order conviction because you have your Sisters of Battle as part of an order. These models are Celestine, Gemini Superior, Hospitaller, Dialogus, Mortifiers, Penitent Engines, Triumph of St. Catherine, of course, and units consisting entirely of Minister and Priest or Ecclesiarchy Battle Conclave models. And then match play rule: if you're using a battle-forged army in a match play game, the following rule applies, which is priestly delegation. A detachment that does not include any minister and priest can only include one Ecclesiarchy Battle Conclave unit. Now, these are the order convictions. So you pick an order. You've got Arm-Martyred Lady, which is the blood of the martyrs, Valorous Heart, stoic endurance, Bloody Rose, quick to anger, Ebon Chalice, daughters of the Emperor, Argent Shroud, Deeds Not Words, and Sacred Rose, Devout Serenity. Now, if my voice continues to work, we'll go through them. So Arm-Martyred Lady is gain 1 miracle dice at the end of any phase other than the morale phase in which any units with this conviction were destroyed. This is in addition to any miracle dice gained at the end of a phase in which a character unit with the Acts of Faith ability was destroyed. In addition, when resolving an attack made by a model with this conviction, add 1 to the hit roll if one or more models from that model's unit have been destroyed in this battle, even if they have been subsequently returned to battlefield. Valorous Heart is when a model with this conviction would lose a wound, roll 1d6. On a 6, that wound is not lost. In addition, when resolving an attack made with a weapon with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 against a unit with this conviction, that weapon has an armor penetration characteristic of 0 for that attack. Whilst a unit with this conviction is under the effect of an Imagifier's Tale of the Stoic ability, weapons with an armor penetration characteristic of -2 are also treated as having an armor penetration characteristic of 0 when resolving attacks against them. That's pretty awesome. And the Bloody Rose, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon or a pistol weapon by a model with this conviction, that weapon's armor penetration characteristic is improved by 1 for an attack. 0 becomes -1, and in addition, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of a model with this conviction during any turn in which it made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention. That's awesome, that one. Ebon Chalice, when a model with this conviction would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6, and on a 5+, that wound is not lost. In addition, when you would perform an act of faith for a model or unit with this conviction, you can first discard 1 miracle dice. If you do, 1 miracle dice you use in the act of faith is considered to be a 6. Wow, 5+ to ignore the mortal wounds. Argent Shroud, when a unit with this conviction advances, it can fire ranged weapons as if it had moved without advancing. We don't need to say anymore. Sacred Rose, when a morale test is taken for a unit with this conviction, no more than 1 model can flee. In addition, after you perform an act of faith for a model or unit with this conviction, roll 1d6. On a 5+, you gain 1 miracle dice. In addition, when resolving an Overwatch attack made by a model with this conviction, a hit roll of 5 or 6 scores a hit. And that is all. That's the order convictions. We've got stratagems. I won't go through all of them because we'll be here for another 3 hours. But there are some decent ones, you know, a couple of pages as always. You've got them in the cards if you've got the cards. You've got warlord traits, which I will talk about, and I'll talk about the order warlord traits too. And then we're pretty much at the end of this review. So warlord traits here, you can obviously pick a warlord trait or roll a d6 to generate one. One is Inspiring Orator. Add 1 to this warlord's leadership characteristic. Friendly order units can use this warlord's leadership characteristic instead of their own whilst they are within 6 inches of this warlord. 2 is Righteous Rage. When making a charge roll for this warlord, you can re-roll any or all of the dice when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this warlord in a turn in which this warlord made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention. You can re-roll the wound roll. 3, Executioner of Heretics. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of enemy units whilst they are within 6 inches of this warlord. 4 is Beacon of Faith. At the start of your turn, if this warlord is on the battlefield, you gain 1 miracle dice. Pretty good. Indomitable Belief. The invulnerable save friendly order infantry units models receive from the Shield of Faith ability is improved by 1 to a maximum of 4+ whilst their unit is within 6 inches of this warlord. That's pretty decent. And then 6 is Pure of Will. This warlord can attempt to deny 1 additional psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase as described in the Shield of Faith ability. Subtract 1 from the psychic tests taken for enemy models whilst they are within 12 inches of this warlord. Then it's a little section here that says name characters and warlord traits. If you have one of the following characters as your warlord, they must have the associated warlord trait shown below. Celestine has Beacon of Faith, where you gain 1 miracle dice. Junith Eruta has Inspiring Orator. We add 1 to the warlord leadership. And Triumph of St. Catherine has Pure of Will, where you can deny psychic powers in opponent's psychic phase. Order warlord traits. So if you wish, you can select an order warlord trait from a list below instead of from the warlord traits on the table on the previous page. So if you're part of an order, you can select one of these instead. Armored Lady has Shield Bearer. Add 1 to the wounds characteristic of this warlord. Pretty good. Improve the warlord's save characteristic by 1 to a maximum of 2+. That's amazing. So you've now got a Canoness with 2+, and you've also got her with, I think, 5 wounds, I think. Order of the Valorous Heart is impervious to pain. When this warlord would lose a wound, roll 1d6, and on a 5+, that wound is not lost. It's like feel no pain. Order of the Bloody Rose, Blazing Ear, is add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this warlord. This warlord can charge in a turn in which they advanced. Order of the Ebon Chalice, Terrible Knowledge. If this warlord is on the battlefield, the miracle dice you gain at the start of the first battle round is a 6. At the start of the first battle round, if your army is battleforged and this warlord is on the battlefield, you gain D3 command points. That's pretty good. And then Order of the Argent Shroud, Selfless Heroism. This warlord can perform a heroic intervention if there are any enemy units within 6 inches of them instead of 3 inches, and when doing so can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches when performing a heroic intervention, so long as they end the move closer to the nearest enemy model. In addition, if this warlord is charged or made a heroic intervention, they will always fight first in the fight phase, even if they did not charge. If there are any enemy units that have charged or that have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with the player whose turn it is taking place. And then Order of the Sacred Rose, Light of the Emperor. When you perform an act of faith for this warlord, gain 1 miracle dice. That's what it says. So some great warlord traits there, and you've also got the option of having some specific order warlord traits. Relics of the Ecclesiarchy, you've got all kinds of things here. Everything from the Mantle of Ophelia, which gives the Canoness a 3+ invulnerable save, might be worth taking. You've got the Blade of Admonition, which it adds +2 strength, AP -3 and damage 3. You've got a Wrath of the Emperor, pistol 4, strength 5, AP -2 and damage 2 pistol weapon, which is amazing. You've also got another pistol weapon and a Condemner bolt gun with again strength 5 weapon. It's good against psychers. And you've got this chain sword as well, and a brazier of holy fire for different orders, of course. Then you've got the points values of all of them. The costliest model in the whole army is the Triumph of St. Catherine. It's 185 points, not surprisingly, but then Celestine is the second most at 160 points. The Exorcist is 90 points, if you're wondering, and then you've got the melee weapons and ranged weapon points cost, and then you've got all the tactical objectives as well. So there you go. Congratulations and well done if you managed to follow me all the way through this video and to the end of the review. I think it's a tremendous codex. I think it's a good platform to expand the Sisters of Battle army. It kind of reminds me a lot like the first, I want to say Scutari Codex or Cult Mechanicus. Now it's just one codex for both of those factions, which is, yeah, brilliant. Praise the Omnissiah and all that good stuff. But I think, yeah, the Sisters it's a good foundation. I like the miracle dice. I like the way that they can be used, and they can really have a big impact on the battle at key moments, which you would expect for you know, kind of divine intervention, or whether it's luck, whatever. I think that's a great and unique ability to have for this army, and it will add to a lot of fun in games. The lacking areas I feel are, firstly, from a model point of view, in terms of no new plastic preachers or missionaries, or you know, Jacob has disappeared as well. No new plastic crusaders or death cult assassins. Where's the repressor as well? I know it's Forge World kit, but would have been nice to have a repressor, just a slightly better armoured rhino with a higher troop capacity, maybe 12 or so, maybe even 15. Only one troop choice But of course the box set you can make the Celestians and the Dominions, so I think that was a good choice for them to do that. Gives you lots of options there, and you can basically make 2 units out of one box set, which is great. I think the models that they've produced for the Codex, the new models, are all stunning, and I think they capture the Gothic style and the grimdark of the 41st millennium more than any of the new Space Marine stuff. And before, I used to think that Space Marines were pretty grimdark, the old dreadnoughts and the chaplains and even the servitors and stuff. But now I think, is this now the most grimdark army that Games Workshop have produced? I think so. It's going to be interesting to see the direction they go with the Grey Knights, if they actually make any new models for the Grey Knights, or even the Astra Militarum. But I think this is a great start and a good platform for what's to come, if there is more of this. Yes, there are vulnerabilities in the army and the Codex, such as no flyer support, no anti-flyer weaponry, not that many special characters, limited anti-tank options, it being a squishy army in terms of toughness, and most of them equipped with bolt guns. It is another kind of all-round army. I think it has the potential of being very survivable, but it's not really a horde army, and it's also not really a super elite army like a Custodes army. But I think it would be an army that would give you a lot of fun, both from a model perspective and also a gaming perspective too. That's the end of my review. This is perhaps the end of the beginning. As I said in my army box set review, there are going to be a lot more unboxings and reviews of these Sisters of Battle to come on this channel, which I hope you enjoy. What do you guys think of the Codex and the army so far? Because in a way this is kind of the review of the army as well. Please do put it in the comments below as always. And also, as a bonus, why not drop a comment for all of us to find out which unit or model you're most looking forward to that's coming out for this army. It'd be really interesting to see the results in the comment section. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.